Good morning, everyone. I see, thank you and welcome to this session. I know it's hard to get up in the morning for the first session, especially when you're in Vegas, and I'm amazed that all of you are here. I'm excited. I'm excited to share this story, the Discover Finance Transformation story enabled by Oracle Cloud ERP, EPM, and Accounting Hub. I think hopefully you'll get a lot of things out of that. My name is Daniel Joo. I lead our Oracle strategy and consulting work in finance, and I had the pleasure of leading the work on the Accenture side for almost 2 years. Now, the fellow panelists that are coming up here, the three of them are all three amazing in their own right. But I want to start with two amazing leaders from Discover, who were instrumental in the success of this program. And why I say that is because I've been doing this a long time, and the leadership that they provided in terms of collaboration, their working relationship set the tone for the rest of the team to work together effectively as one team, whether it was business, IT, Accenture, or Oracle. So, please welcome Amanda Kreutziger and Riggi.
Oh, sorry.
And then last but not least, Trevor Hammond, who supported us from an Oracle practice perspective.
Two amazing leaders in Trevor. That's what I heard, yeah.
Okay, let's get started with some introductions. So help us with introductions and tell us something that brings you joy.
Awesome. So hello, so happy to be here. I'm Amanda Kreutziger. I'm Vice President of Corporate Services Technology at Discover. I'm responsible for the technology solutions and engineering teams for corporate finance, corporate risk, HR, legal, and audit. I entered that role, it's been almost 2 years, but I've been at Discover for 22 years. So incredibly proud of the career that I've built at Discover and all of the amazing things that I've done through those years. Really found passion in building strong teams, bringing together disparate parts of the organization to really create high-performing teams that can do more together than they ever thought possible. My favorite role, though, is mom. I'm a mother of two amazing children, 7 years old and 9 years old. I worked a few years back to create a structure for a work-life balance that allows me to work a part-time schedule. Incredibly proud of that, and I'm proud of Discover for sponsoring and advocating for work-life balance for women and parents that is incredibly important in the technology field especially.
Yeah, I think that work-life balance component, and as an IT leader on a difficult program that was successful, just speaks volumes about you for sure.
Thank you.
Eric.
Riggi. I am Vice President of Finance Risk and Controllership. I've been at Discover for 18 years, so a little less than Amanda, but my responsibilities include regulatory reporting, consolidations, our risk office, including SOX, which everybody loves, and then ultimately the Oracle technology stack of the ERP and EPM. What brings me joy is enabling people and teams to achieve things that they didn't think they could achieve. And that's both professionally as well as personally. I've got 3 children, 14, 12, and 10. Love coaching all of their youth sports and seeing the joy on their faces as they're able to make the shot, make the pass, do whatever it is, and find success and build confidence. And it's really the same thing in work life as well.
Sure.
Hey folks, my name is Trevor Hammond. I'm responsible for Accenture's Oracle applications business in North America. I was excited to spend some time with the Discover team over the last couple of years. Same situation. I've got a 6-year-old and a just turned 9-year-old last Sunday. So she's really excited that I'm out here at a convention while she's celebrating her birthday, but we did have some really good birthday parties right before we came out. But end of the day, just excited to be up here with the Discover team. An amazing story that we're going to talk about today. Very, very successful, but at the same time, a good model for a lot of our clients that are moving forward in this same type of transformation.
Wow, no, that's good. Let's ground the audience a little bit about Discover, and so you can understand the business a little better, and it'll give you context around the work that we did. So I think we have a video.
This is the dawn of Discover. The Discover call, Discover.
That was cool. Amanda, help the audience understand Discover a little bit more.
Yeah, so as you can see through that awesome video, we're more than just a credit card company. I hope everybody has their Discover credit card with them, though. You get your cashback bonus for Christmas and Hanukkah. But we're more than that. You can see we have several different banking products: personal lending, student lending, home lending, and checking and deposits accounts. We're also a global payment provider. So we operate the Discover Global Network, the Pulse Debit Network, and Diners Club International. Our mission at Discover is to help our customers spend smarter, manage debt better, so they can achieve a brighter financial future. And being at Discover for the time that I have, I can attest that the customer has always been at the forefront of everything that we do. I'm so proud to be part of it for so long.
Yeah, it's the breadth and depth of the services that Discover provides is pretty amazing. I remember the first time we all went out to dinner, and I didn't have my Discover card yet. And there's a lot of pride with the people at Discover.
We shamed you endlessly.
You did, I know, you did. It's true. So let's start from the beginning, Eric. Tell us where the project started and the kinds of things you were thinking about as you were looking forward to the program.
Yeah, so we started in the Stone Age, essentially. We had...
When I started, that's how old I am.
We had a patchwork of systems 30 plus years old, rooted in a mainframe general ledger known as McCormick and Dodge. End users had to log into one system to obtain balances, another system to obtain transaction level information, another system to do actual transaction research, and then multiple reconciliation tools. We were long overdue for a change. What we did when we started was we started with a readiness phase. And the intent of that, when you have those legacy systems, there's always some hidden gems in there. And so we spent a lot of time trying to uncover what hidden processing was going on and uncovering the bodies that had been buried many, many years ago. We also focused a lot on the data and making sure that we understood the data, where it was coming from, what it actually meant. And then ARCS was a big element for us as well. We are very heavy in transaction matching, and we push hundreds of thousands of transactions a month through the ARCS through our legacy platform, and we wanted to make sure that ARCS could handle the volume of transactions that we have, which is now about 1 million a month.
Yeah, I think starting right is critical, and it's being a little obvious, but we spent 6 months in the readiness phase because of the risks that we had identified in the mitigation steps that we wanted to make sure that we had confidence in before we started the implementation phase for sure. So I thought that was super smart. But Trevor, what are some of the other things that our clients think about as they start the project?
I think you guys hit on it perfectly. It's that readiness phase. We like to talk to our clients about go slow to go fast, right?
Yeah.
That first, probably you said 6 months, understanding what the key strategy design decisions, the foundational design decisions for your program are, locking those in and putting governance around them, making sure you're not revisiting those as you go through your design and your test, making sure you have the right stakeholders involved in making those decisions and defending those decisions. Putting that governance into place, putting your committees into place. That's what we're really working with our clients on quite a bit. And it does take a little bit of time. But at the end of the day, what it's going to do is it's going to speed your implementation.
Yeah.
And it's actually going to help you lock in the value for the long-term part of the project.
Yeah, that confidence is important, especially, Eric, you mentioned the unknowns when we started, but doing that work up front gives you more confidence, helps you to understand what's ahead and making sure you've got the right resources to be successful for sure. But
And it also helps you actually see what is coming.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, because when you start out on the client side, okay, we're going to implement this new GL, but we don't know it, we don't understand it, we don't have an appreciation for what it's going to look and feel like. And that allowed us to see it, feel it, start to have a vision more tactically, and start to build up some of that muscle memory because of the pace that you need to operate at.
yeah, for sure. Amanda, the metrics. Metrics are important. We have to measure the success of the program. How did we do?
So I'll start with the fundamentals. We started with the priority being let's create accurate and timely financial statements in a controlled manner with zero disruptions to month-end and quarter-end processes. And we achieved that. The second piece was ensuring that we were hitting our January 1st go live, which was earlier this year. Any disruption to that would have caused us to have to operate on multiple platforms, redo data conversions. It would have been incredibly disruptive to the business. So it was very important that we controlled scope to hit that date. The third fundamental element was managing to our budget. And we're happy to report that we came in under budget. And I think a key factor to that was the level of investment that was made up front. We didn't underinvest, and it allowed us to be incredibly responsible about the budget. I think what's more interesting, though, aside from those fundamentals, is some of the simple yet very powerful questions that we asked throughout the program that helped us focus and anchor in what's important. And those were, does it work? Can we use it? And can we support it? And there were measures associated with each of those questions. So when we think about, does it work? It was the robust testing cycles that we went through. And zero critical high defects through every phase, inclusive of a full-scale production parallel, month-end simulation, quarter-end simulation. So we had the confidence that we knew it would work when we went live. The second of can we use it was all about training our user community and ensuring that they had the confidence. We built out a full-scale sandbox for them to perform simulations of their day-to-day activities, and then we assessed and asked them, are you ready? Mm-hmm. And that gave us the confidence that, yes, they can use it. And then finally, can we support it was all about our product team and building our product team and that internal operational readiness to be able to support this platform as we went live. We love Accenture, but we wanted to have our own capability and not be dependent on Accenture forever. So we focused very early on building the skills and capabilities of our product team, some of who are here today and we're so, so proud of. They continue to own this platform and really drive the business forward and get the value out of the platform and have measurements associated with that health and performance.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing how those three simple questions we used to communicate with stakeholders all the way from the end user to the steering committee.
Yep.
And everything that we measured centered around those three questions, and it made it simpler to communicate overall, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then I remember the hard conversations as you set the targets up front.
Yeah.
The budget conversations, the timeline conversations, those were critical conversations where we took the time to land on a place where everyone was comfortable. And there wasn't alignment up front. There was a lot of back and forth. But I think we got to a good place for sure as a program.
The one element I'd highlight that Amanda laid out is use of the sandbox. We went live January 1. We had the sandbox up and running in early August, which allowed our end users to really get in there because, as you may or may not be aware, accountants are a little bit hesitant to change.
No.
So I know it's shocking, but that allowed them to go in and start practicing their daily transaction matching, redo all of their journal entries. We also had a chart of accounts change. Getting that sandbox up and running early paid massive dividends to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point for sure, especially with the users, no doubt. Trevor, what are some of the other things that our clients think about as they think about metrics and how they measure the success of programs?
Yeah, so I'm honestly, ownership and adoption. You guys just talked about it, hit on it really, really well there with the sandbox, understanding the change that's coming, being able to measure that change. Certainly looking ahead, and we talked about going slow to go fast. Identify where we believe the value is going to come from the program. See if you can push that value to the forefront of the program, and then certainly track that and defend it throughout. Make sure we have some delivery certainty around that value, and then certainly value realization after you go live, because these are tough programs, right? And the team sitting in the front row did amazing work for 2 years. At the end of the program, we want to be able to say we not only went live, and we not only went live with a new platform, but we actually drove a certain amount of value, and we're going to maintain that value as we move forward, because we all know as Oracle Cloud, you're going to get quarterly updates. The system's always changing. There's always innovation coming. How do you continue to adopt that innovation and continue to receive the value and stay on that straight and narrow path that you align to with those processes that you implemented?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, especially in the new SaaS world, the cloud world, where you do get the more frequent updates. And I feel like Discover's done a really good job. You all have done a really good job of making sure the metrics continue on after go live, and so that you understand what value is coming. So, if I think about it, as you reflect back, the go lives happened. We've gone through multiple successful closes. What would you change about what we did, Eric?
So when you go live on time and on budget, it's hard to say that you'd change a lot. That said, I talked about the readiness phase that we did at the start of the program. What I would do differently is more of an organizational preparedness, and it really there's two strands to that. First is spending more time up front, laying out what the program is going to look like and feel like for our subject matter experts. Ensuring that they understand where they're going to need to be involved, what the turnaround time is going to be, because the pace is quick. And as an organization that historically has not been good at large-scale programs, and with accountants, they're used to the world stopping at month-end close and quarter-end close. So spending that time up front to lay it out, get their heads around it, is one thing. The other element is organizational awareness. So when you hear about, we're replacing the general ledger, folks often assume, that's just an accounting thing. As I had mentioned a little bit earlier, we were also going through a chart of accounts revamp. And with that, our non-accounting users didn't fully appreciate the level of impact that it was going to have to them and their reporting. Our FP&A group, as an example, right? They're pulling in financial information every month to report out to the business leaders. They didn't fully embrace and understand until later into the program than we would have liked that, no, really, all of your reporting is going to change. It is all going to need to be rebuilt. And pulling that forward, showing them tactical examples to really drive home the point, that's the other element.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting your points, because a lot of our clients reflect back and think, wow, I wish we would have invested more in change management and stakeholder management. And we were thoughtful about it up front as well. But you go back and think, well, we may have done more or could have done more, which is consistently something our clients tell us. But Trevor, what other things do you hear from our clients in terms of what they wish they would have done differently?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we measure success in so many different ways on these programs, but the real measure of success is adoption of the system and adoption of the processes. We have a change management leader in North America, and she'll say, if you're on your second day of your program and you're not talking about change, you're behind.
Yeah.
And that's 100% true on all of our programs. I think what we've been able to do from an Oracle Cloud perspective is, because it's a cloud application, we've been able to put together a framework of strategic decisions and foundational decisions that you can make up front. We can ask the questions, and the questions are the same. The answers are always different with our clients, which is kind of the fun part of this job. So really leaning in up front, making sure you're getting the governance in place, the leadership, the right people in the right seats at the beginning of the program to make those key decisions up front, and then transparency, not only between Accenture and Oracle and Discover, but between the leaders on the team and the people, maybe the last person that's doing the coding, right? Understanding what they're going to be doing on the program and getting them excited about it.
Yeah.
If you set up your program for success, we see success.
Yeah. No, I think that's also really important point, because the trust component with your team and building that trust with each other that you're going to deliver and you're going to do the right things is super critical for sure. So Amanda, I love the data-led transformation component of the work that we did, because we did so much. Help the audience understand what that was like.
Yeah, so obviously with this type of migration and transformation, data is key. And as Eric mentioned, we were coming from this place of an extremely outdated platform. The way that the data processing happened was through this extensive, heavyweight batch process that waited for all of the data sources to arrive and then process them through, elongating the time that the users had to actually work with the data. So there was a couple of elements that were incredibly important when we thought about how we were going to re-architect this. And we followed a key principle that there were going to be 0 customizations in Oracle. And having that mandate, really led by the CIO and the CFO, allowed us to completely rethink the architecture and streamline it. So there were some things that were really key about our approach. The first being a central data ingestion process. So all of the data being processed is on demand, flowing all the way through to the accounting hub and back through to our data warehouse. No longer having that heavyweight batch process and doing that all real time on demand. The second piece was data security and having the tokenization of key data elements in place. And then the other piece was streamlining. So we went from 105 different data sources to 75. We built in data governance and data lineage, so we understand exactly what data we were using. We eliminated any duplicative data elements that were contributing to the overhead. We streamlined the posting process. So we eliminated 300,000 posting rules in the accounting hub when we did the transformation. And the last element that I'll mention is we did this with data quality built in. So we have a real-time monitoring of all of those data feeds, automated alerting if there's any disruption in process. So we know that the data is on time and we know that it's of high quality. And I guess I shouldn't forget the data volumes that you guys were talking about previously were also key. And the thing that I would share is, regardless of those high data volumes, all of those elements that I mentioned are incredibly important and can be done.
Yeah, I love the fact that we did a lot more data for the finance users. We enabled traceability and lineage from source to the ledger. And yet that additional information, that additional data didn't create more complexity. We actually simplified a lot. And that I think was just an amazing outcome of what we did, and I think sets up Discover very well from a future perspective in terms of analytics that is coming. Trevor, data for our other clients. Like, you hear the Discover story. What else is out there that you're hearing?
Yeah, and Eric and I were joking around earlier, and we weren't going to talk about consulting euphemisms and those type of things, but
which Trevor has a lot of.
Yes, I do. We can talk all day about consulting terms, right? But when it comes to data, I'm largely in the ERP EPM world with the work that I do. End of the day, these are data programs, right? Everybody says, oh, it's an ERP program. Now, we take data into the ERP, we transact, and we need to get the data out, and we need to make decisions based on the reporting coming out of it. It is a data program. And I think that's something that's very key. People need to, and our clients really need to focus on. I talked about those key strategic decisions. The first one at the very, very top of the list is your data reporting and analytics strategy from a global perspective. Because you can't, I've been in consulting for about 25 years, and people start ERP programs and they say, well, let's go figure out our chart of accounts and let's start configuring. That doesn't make any sense to me and to our teams, because unless you know where your data is, unless you know the decisions that you need to be making on a day-to-day basis based on that data, you cannot make the decision on what goes into a general ledger, into a chart of accounts. So understanding, like Discover did, where their data was, what they wanted it to be and what they wanted it to be in the future, documenting that, getting that strategy in place, and then putting the governance around that. Then you can go talk about, what do I want in my general ledger?
Yeah, and we had an interesting challenge, technical challenge on the data side, right? Because of the volumes that we were dealing with. The ARC solution that we deployed has the highest volume footprint, and Discover Oracle hadn't supported that transaction volume at another client site. So, share with the audience on how you were thinking through that scenario. Maybe Eric, you can start.
Yeah, I mean, it was having the right conversations with Oracle and Accenture to really push and make sure that Oracle did performance testing in the background to ensure that they could handle the transaction volume that we have. Prior to us coming on board, I think they had been, if I recall correctly, had committed to being able to do 1 million transactions a month. Well, when you're running at the high hundreds of thousands, close to 1 million, it's a little too close for comfort. So what we did was we worked with Oracle, and they did performance testing in the background to prove out that their system could handle up to 5 million transactions, which gave us comfort that on a day-to-day basis they could handle our operations.
I'd say since we went live, the partnership with Oracle, especially on the ARC solution, has been key to pushing the boundaries, understanding the product functionality, and working together. I mean, we've shared each other's regression test beds to ensure that we can, meet the enhancements that we're looking for in the product, and Oracle's right there with us, and that is a unique situation for a cloud platform provider to do so.
Yeah, no, the partnership was definitely
phenomenal.
Amazing, no doubt. So we talked a lot about outcomes and challenges. How did you think about structuring the team for success?
So there's two things. It comes down to people and process. So I'm going to start with people. We learned through some hard lessons, you have to have full-time, dedicated resources on a transformation this big. So what we did was we worked in the two to 3 years leading up to the implementation. We worked to gain efficiencies within the accounting space. We brought in RPA. We worked to get rid of a lot of the rote, mundane tasks. And what that allowed us to do was free up resources, and we actually pulled some of the best and brightest people in our controllership and technology function onto the program, which is scary. But we did that because, one, you need a program team that can make decisions and actually understands the business. And it reduces the burden on the subject matter experts. The other thing that we did was we really we made sure that it was a Discover-led program. So we were about a third kind of finance, a third technology, and then a third consultants, Accenture. Because what was important was to make sure that our stakeholder community didn't feel that the implementation was done to them and that they were part of it and that we were all part of it. Most important, we operated as one team. You can't have an Accenture team, you can't have a business technology team, and you can't have a finance team. Otherwise, it's not going to work. We had 2 to 3 in a box for everything, and it was exceptionally rare that we had a finance-only conversation. BT, Accenture, they were part of everything, and that really is the key to success, to make sure you're all operating together and you're all in this together. On a process side, Amanda mentioned no customizations. So we worked to set the tone early, and again, remember, accountants are change adverse, right? But what we did was we made it a priority to adopt our processes to the technology. We don't do anything that complicated, right? Oracle services thousands of clients. You have to really take a hard look in the mirror and say, am I really that unique that this platform can't do what I need it to do? Yes, I'm used to getting this report every month. Do you actually use the report? Well, sometimes. Does it have to be in that format? Well, no, but this is what I'm used to. It is that type of change, and you have to start that before the program even launches.
Yeah, I think the focus, I mean, everyone talks about we want the A-team, we want the A-team, but you really did that as an organization. And not only did we just start with that mindset, but we continued to hold ourselves accountable to make sure that we got the right talent throughout the project. I know those were hard conversations from my perspective, but you held yourself accountable to that too, which is pretty rare. And working together from an IT or BT and finance perspective, I said it in the introduction, but it started with both of your leadership team, or both of your leadership style, that just made it natural for the whole team, for sure. But then COVID hit.
Yeah. So COVID hit, and so we started the readiness phase, I'll call it the end of 2019. We really formally launched the program in early 2020. March 13th came, Friday the 13th, and the world shut down. We went full remote. And it was a challenge. We're not used to working fully remote. Everybody has so much going on in their lives. Kids are back at home. It was just a very challenging and emotional time for all of us. That said, I do think being fully remote actually helped us achieve our go live being on time and on budget. It gave us better access to Accenture. They weren't traveling Mondays, traveling in Monday mornings and leaving Thursday. It also allowed the team to have some semblance of family life. A program this magnitude, you got to give it your all. And the hours and the effort are like nothing I've ever done in my career before. And I worked in public accounting, so I feel like I've worked hard. But to be able to slip upstairs and have dinner with your family for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, and then come back down and then get back on, as opposed to being in the office till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. I think it was actually really good for us. And if you guys are thinking about a transformation, I would definitely give that some serious consideration.
Yeah, and I actually came on board. I wasn't there from the beginning of the program. I came on board at the end of 2020. And one of the immediate things that my team gave as feedback, the engineers, was it's so much more productive working remotely with our partners. And they were so happy that that was the scenario, because they were struggling of the schedule of coming into the office and who would be there when. And so it allowed that collaboration that Eric's talking about to just hit another gear that was incredibly important. And I do believe it's been a key contributor to the success.
Yeah.
Video's on.
Well, I also think, though, back to the earlier point around getting the right people, getting the top talent on the project, and then building that trust up front so you can work remotely was an important key ingredient for our success, for sure. We can't, without having the right talent in place, you don't always have that trust to work remotely, which I thought benefited us greatly in terms of making sure we got the right talent on the project.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about after go live. What's changed? How has your way of working changed since the go live?
Yeah, so
He loves technology now.
I love technology, but we have adopted entirely new ways of working. We shifted to the product team, which is sitting in front of us today. I think, and it has been an absolute great transformation for us. Our old ways of working, the joke I like to make with it is working with business technology was like going to the DMV. You go, Amanda loves this one.
I don't, but I understand.
You go, you have an idea, you go wait in line, you sit in line, you get to the front, and then here's my idea, and then they send you over to another line, and then you get there and you get your picture taken, and then you get to go to another line, and you wait and you wait, you wait. The product team concept and model allows, and I'll go back to what made us successful. The team is operating as one. Whether they functionally report into finance or business technology, they operate as one team. We have persistent business technology resources that actually understand not only the technologies, but what we're trying to accomplish. So you're starting to, historically you'd have those gaps. You have finance knows this, BT knows this, and there was always that gap in the middle where things would fall in and we'd run into issues. Now, because they're operating together and the finance folks are understanding the technology that much more, the technology folks are understanding what the business is trying to accomplish, we've been able to cover those gaps, and we control our own destiny, right? We have a finite number of resources, but we're able to prioritize for us what makes sense. We work with our stakeholders. We're engaging them every month because we have the monthly updates for EPM, the quarterly updates for ERP. Hey, here's the new functionality. What makes sense? How can we take advantage of this? I have come 180 degrees on this, and I really, really, really love it.
And what's so great about this is the way that Discover is working throughout the organization. We've gone through an incredible transformation, and the product model and product-centric teams is now the standard way of working that allows business and technology to be that one team that Eric's talking about and avoid that conflict. There's definitely still the balance and tension, but it's healthy. And it's been incredibly productive for the teams, and they enjoy so much working that way.
Yeah, I think standing up an effective product team structure is hard. And I think one of the key critical success factors, if you will, of enabling that is we thought about and talked about the long-term support organization early. Right? During design phases when we started having those conversations, and we worked all the way throughout to make sure that stand-up was going to go as smoothly as
I remember coming on board and saying, product model, and Eric looking at me like, what are you talking about? But he loves it now. So.
I do.
Well, I think that's some of the key things of success, and you guys are hearing it right now. It's for programs to be successful, there has to be a tremendous amount of self-awareness. Right?
Yeah.
We all know what the outcomes we want. are, to come out of these transformations. But being able to look at the organization, look at yourself, look at your teams, and being able to say, this needs to change, and to be able to get to the outcomes we want and maintain those outcomes, we have to really look deep inside and start that change early, and that's something that Discover's done wonderfully.
Yeah, I totally agree. So how has this program set you up from your longer-term transformation journey? How are you thinking about what's next?
Yeah, obviously it's been such a great role model for how to run a program of this side. And, one of our key partners couldn't be with us today, but Michelle Green was instrumental in this as well. And she's now taken a larger role in the technology strategy as we move forward. But it's all about, definitely keeping the cloud platform as our target. The upskilling of the engineering workforce, and that includes the finance workforce with digital skills. And then ensuring that we extend the product model that we talked about, and we keep evolving it and we keep learning into it. And being at Discover for the time that I have, I will say, the leadership under Amir and our CFO, John Green, and their conviction in what we're doing and the support that they've had for us has made a tremendous difference and impact on the speed at which we can go.
Yeah, the C-level support is absolutely critical.
It's fantastic.
For sure.
Amir was here yesterday, if anyone saw his session. He talked a little bit about it, and it's really inspiring and motivational. If you don't have that, it makes it incredibly difficult.
Yeah. So let's close on something personal. We opened with a personal introduction. What has this program meant to you from a development perspective? What has it meant to you from your personal career perspective as you reflect back?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I came on board not from the beginning of the program. And so right away, I was just in awe of everything that the team had already accomplished. And I felt such a strong sense of responsibility because we were going into the final stages of build, test, cut over, go live. The critical piece that if it went bad, it was bad. And I just wanted to make sure that I was doing everything possible to be able to make this team successful. And what I noticed right away was that was the way the team worked. Everyone had this incredible sense of accountability and responsibility and ownership. And they were all asking, all the way down to the engineers doing, configuration or integration, what do we need to think of next? And what's wrong? And asking those questions with a sense of urgency. And so it just, what I've learned or relearned was, it might sound trite, but teamwork does make the dream work. And when you have a team that's working together with that synergy, it creates magic.
Yeah.
And it's what I've loved to do with my career at Discover, and it just reinforced it.
Yeah. Eric, do you have?
Yeah. I've always, when people have asked me what it was like, I've said it's the most grueling, stressful, exhausting 2+ years of my career, but I had so much fun and I learned so much. One of the things when you go through a program like this, you really do make lifelong friends. I was told that at the beginning. I was like, okay, these are work people. But going through this for 2 years and going to battle and seeing the team grow and develop and empowering them and seeing them take it and run with it, watching them learn to think broadly and have that sense of urgency has just been remarkable. For me, it's been about personally learning, really having an appreciation for how important transparency and metrics are, and knowing and being able to know where you're at on any given day is critical to success. And now I really focus and see the value of PMO project, PMO and a strong PMO, and it's not just somebody that's taking tasks, they actually drive a program. And that learning for me was very eye-opening.
Well, thank you for sharing, the both of you and Trevor. I hope all of you gained something out of this conversation. I hope you got a sense of the relationship and the working relationship we have coming out of this project that we executed upon. We don't have any time for questions, but we're happy to stay after and answer any questions that all of you may have. But just a final thank you to the panel.